Keys to the Shop, episode 293.
Thoughts on defining professionalism. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I'm your host for the show, and I really appreciate you tuning in today. If you have not subscribed to the show, I would encourage you to do so. Just hit subscribe, and you will be updated when new episodes are released. And if you love the show, what we do, and it's really helped you, it would be awesome if you would not only share these episodes or this podcast on your social media or with your friends, but that you would also leave a review, maybe a 5-star rating or review over at Apple Podcasts, perhaps. That would be really awesome. And I really appreciate everybody who's taken the time to do exactly that. And it's so cool to be able to get to do this show. And it's because of people like you tuning in, sharing the show, and I really appreciate it. Again, now on top of doing the podcast, Keys to the Shop also offers consulting and coaching for you and your business. That means you could either work with me remotely over the phone to help you walk through challenges, projects, such as opening a coffee bar, improving your existing coffee bar, or whatever is on your mind. I have a lot of clients who are right in the middle of our remote consultation, or Keys to the Shop consulting can come right to your cafe and do in-person assessments of your operations and training of your staff and leadership. So there's a lot of ways that Keys to the Shop consulting can help you. And I would love to talk with you about what's going on in your neck of the woods and whether working with Keys to the Shop consulting is right for you. To schedule a free discovery call with me, go ahead and email chris@keystotheshop.com, and we can set that up and see how Keys to the Shop consulting might be able to help you. Again, the email for Keys to the Shop consulting, chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee is one of the best suppliers of specialty coffee equipment in the world. Not only do they curate the best equipment from all over the world, but they also work with you to make sure you're getting the right equipment for your business. And that kind of support is really important because it's a big investment to put into equipment when you're just starting out, or if you're expanding or upgrading your commercial equipment. It's a huge investment, and you want to make sure that you're making the right decision. And that's one of the great things about Prima Coffee. They're all about helping you be successful in your coffee operation. Keys to the Shop listeners can get 5% off their entire order by using the code KEYS5 at checkout when you go to prima-coffee.com/keys. Use the code KEYS5 at checkout, that's KEYS, and then the number 5 at checkout, and you get 5% off your entire order. It's really a great deal. Definitely take advantage of that. And if you're in the market for commercial equipment and you want to make sure you're working with the best, then I highly recommend you go check out prima-coffee.com/keys. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series, a line of plant-based performance beverages that enables you to serve your customers the absolute best plant-based beverages they've ever had. The Barista Series is designed for the specialty coffee community, and before anything ever hits your shelves, or before they launch a product in their extensive line in the Barista Series, they bench test this stuff with some of the world's best baristas, making sure that it performs on bar. Gives you amazing texture for latte art. It stands up to the heat from the steaming process, and the final beverage is really focused on the coffee. All these things are definitely important for your customers, and it's important that when you're serving them, you serve them the best. I really think that you can't go wrong with the Barista Series from Pacific. Look them up over on their website, pacificfoodservice.com. Get it in your store and try it for yourself and see what I'm talking about. I think you'll agree. The best option for you and your customers for all of your plant-based beverages is the Barista Series from Pacific. Okay, everybody. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about a topic that is kind of near and dear to my heart. And it's something that I've evolved in my understanding of over 21 years of doing coffee. I didn't always have these opinions about what professionalism was, but today I'm fairly confident in what I'm going to be talking about because I've gone through lots of different phases of what I've believed it to be. Recently, I just got back from a 10-day trip. This was in Atlanta, where I was doing training with a client of mine right before the Coffee Fest trade show. And so I kind of combined those trips, and it's nice to be back home. And at Coffee Fest, I always have a great time because it's wonderful to be a judge of latte art. You know, I've been doing the Coffee Fest trade show since 2004. You've heard me say, as I've talked about it at the end of these shows. But I've won the competition 3 times. I've been back as a judge innumerable times since then, and every Coffee Fest I'm either speaking, judging, or teaching something at Coffee Fest. But latte art has been the consistent thing that I've been doing since 2004. And the community of latte art is one of the greatest I can find out there in coffee. And in a lot of ways, you can contrast the latte art competition community with the professional barista competition community. The United States Barista Championships, World Barista Championships, and that type of thing. And one of the defining characteristics that would make you really sit up and notice is that one is very, very formal, extremely formal. Of course, that's the World Barista Championships. And one is very informal. That would be the latte art competition. And by nature, that's to be expected. They are really designed that way. And both have a place in the industry. The latte art competition is a little bit more of a structured throwdown. It's got a lot of money attached to it. We have rules and certain things we're looking for in the latte art that is submitted by the competitors. And over the years, the rules and what's expected has changed. Mostly because the latte art has become better and better. And I would say if you look at any of the pours that I did to win the competition in my day, they wouldn't even make it past the application round today. It's just that much higher. But one thing is consistent ever since then, is that the community is always very, very supportive of one another. There's a ton of camaraderie, and the informal nature of it allows for this incredibly authentic expression of community on the sidelines, in groups, and it's really wonderful to see. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in other competitions. I know it does. But if you've been at a Coffee Fest latte art competition and seen these teams of people coming from cafes from across the country and the world, really, you'll know what I mean. The energy is unique to this competition. And it's one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much, is because of the love and the support and all of that. And now, after this competition recently, there was a person who was a rather well-known, old-time latte art person, did a lot of things for latte art way back in the day. And they made a comment on social media that it got deleted, so it's no sense in really looking it up. They did a screenshot from the live stream of one of the competitors pouring barefoot in the competition. And I saw it as a judge. I'm there, I see him pouring barefoot. And honestly, I didn't really care that much, to be honest, because I've seen it happen before. And this is not, we're not serving drinks to the public. This is not an actual coffee bar. This is a competition arena. And there's a lot of free individual expression in this competition, which is another reason I love it, right? But this person who did a screenshot of the barefoot barista, let's say, posted the question of, where are we going? As if to say, we're not going somewhere very good when you see somebody on a competition arena barefoot. So it's meant to be sort of a this is bad, this is not professional, this is not becoming of somebody, and this is, where are we going? As if to say, this is a slippery slope. What's next? People are going to be all pouring barefoot, and then what? Everyone's going to be pouring naked. I don't know. What's the logical conclusion of this insinuated slippery slope? So as ridiculous as I thought that was, it got me thinking about professionalism. And the result of all this is that the person who posted it, got some backlash, deservedly so, I think, and took it down. And that's that. The person who had the screenshot taken of them is super encouraged by the community that came out to support them, because they're a fantastic latte artist. One of the most passionate, supportive, and professional people that you'll ever meet. And I guarantee you'd want to hire this person. But the problem here is that somebody from afar saw one thing, and said that this is an indicator of something much larger, almost like we think of climate change, but in terms of, being barefoot, this is a big problem that we have to take notice of and address. And it's so out of step, I think, with the question that was actually asked, which was, where are we going? The appropriate question is, where do we want to go? where do we want to go with professionalism? Because I think that's at the heart of this question that was asked by the person offended by bare feet. I'm not saying that anybody working in a cafe right now should have bare feet. Of course, it's a liability. You're going to probably get burned. But again, this is a incident that just didn't happen usually, and it's not like we're serving the public. I thought it was kind of fun, actually. But back to the idea of professionalism, we have to address this because we have to decide what kind of professionalism we want to perpetuate in specialty coffee to the public. Is it the kind of professionalism that we've assumed and adopted thus far, or is it something different? And I'm going to say that I think it's probably something different. And here's what I mean. I want to talk about it in terms of substance versus a veneer. Now, a veneer has a bit of real wood in it. So if you have walnut veneer, you basically have particle board as the bulk of your countertop, and then you have a very thin layer of the real wood, like the walnut, right, slapped onto the top. And this gives you the impression that this whole thing is made of what you see on top. However, it's just a veneer. A veneer is, by its nature, meant to deceive in a way, give the impression that the substance of the whole is made up of what you see on the surface. But when it comes to professionalism, I'm going to argue that so far, our definitions of professionalism are mostly veneers and not really substance. Veneers that make us wear certain things, say certain things, talk certain ways, make our cafes have to look like every other cafe in the world. It's like a contagion, if you will. It's maybe an inappropriate, as we've gone through the pandemic, but just think about the idea that the hive mind of specialty coffee desperately wants to validate itself in the eyes of other professionals out there. And in order to do so, we'll grab a hold of any kind of thing that makes it look professional. Like, again, certain types of dress codes, like shiny shoes and aprons and shiny bars, particular types of equipment, a particular arrangement of succulents, and etc. We desire to be thought of first as professionals by the image that we present. And we don't really give a whole lot of thought to authentic expression when it comes to what we present to others, because we desire acceptance into the world of the professional, quote unquote, more than we desire acceptance into a community, almost more than we desire to even connect with that community. I mean, that gets into the whole problem of gentrification and back to the idea of how there's this contagion, social contagion of like a cafe opens anywhere in the world and it's going to look similar to a dozen other cafes on the other side of the world. Because rather than doing the hard work of being authentic, we want to do the easy work of putting on the veneer of professionalism. So we describe coffee as a certain way, we dress a certain way, we have to have a particular type of machine, not because we know that machine works well. It's because we know that here's a recipe for professionalism, and we just check the boxes as if to say, now this will work. And I think by now, I've mentioned it a few times, you might know how I feel about templates. But people go online, they want to open a coffee bar, and so they find a template for a barista manual or policy manuals and things like that. They can be helpful, but they're not really substantive. They don't really connect the same way as someone who's maybe even taken a template or just from the ground up designed something around the life of their business and what their business and their people need. That gets to the heart of the matter. What is substance? What are the universal values of true professionalism? What makes somebody a professional in the sense of the word that is fulfilling, that is lasting, meaningful, connecting? That's what I think we need to go towards, where we're less likely to reach out and say, oh, they didn't wear shoes when they poured latte art in Atlanta. That means da-da-da-da-da, right? Or they're wearing T-shirts behind the bar, all different types of T-shirts, in fact. Or we say, they decorate, in a way that I don't like. They're not very professional. They're not as professional as this other place that decorates the way I like. Their baristas aren't all wearing uniforms, and therefore the one that has all these matching aprons and hats with the logos, they're more professional, right? I just want to puke when I hear stuff like that. That is absolutely not true. What is true is that we are quick to characterize something as not professional if it veers away from the veneer. I think it's because it exposes to us the shaky foundation on which our professional expectations are built. So rather than face the fact that we have shallow definitions of professionalism, instead we demonize those who dare to go off course or even point that out, like the emperor has no clothes here. And we're like, no, plug your ears, don't hear the truth. But it is the truth. So when we set out to create a space and lead others in the pursuit of providing a great coffee experience, there's definitely a part that the owner plays in curating the shop's values and expressions. This is something that you start, and there is a part of you in it. But if we cling to control through the means of this veneer of professionalism and surface-level norms as kind of the base of our business, then we're going to stifle people, and not just stifle our staff. It's not about, can't let your staff express themselves however they want. I'm not saying that staff get to have carte blanche, but I am saying that when we cling to these veneers of professionalism, we do stifle them, but not just them. We stifle the people who come into our stores, okay? We stifle our customers. You know why? Because they want connection. They don't want robots who are just coming to attend their needs in the pre-prescribed way with the pre-prescribed words, with the aprons and the hats and all that stuff. They want connection. They want a reflection of something that's in themselves through the medium that you're working with. Coffee. They want that. And you can't make those connections with your community, and your community will be stifled as a result of coming to your bar because they intuit that a coffee bar is a place where they can connect to something, kind of a reflection back to them of their community. But then they're sorely disappointed when they come in because you've imported all of these veneers, all of these surface level accepted forms of professionalism, and neglected the heart of the business and neglected them, really. And if you double down on these misplaced notions of professionalism, what's going to happen is you're going to be perpetually chasing the promise of culture, connection, and community that coffee shops naturally inspire, only to have the door closed on you by your own narrow interpretations of what's acceptable and professional. So where are we going? Well, here's where I think we need to go in terms of the definition of professionalism and what we should pursue. There's a good saying, seek first to understand and then to be understood. See, all I've been talking about is kind of reversing that. We want to be understood by people first. We market, we put it out there. This is us. This is us. We're professionals. Look at us. How could you not say that we're professionals? We seek to be understood first and then to understand our community. And I think it should be the reverse. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. So we have to become students of where we are. What does the community need from you? Do you really see people in your community wearing hats and aprons everywhere? Maybe you do. Okay, fine. Then it's not going to be that revolutionary for your baristas to wear hats and aprons. If it's an accepted part of a professional culture in the community where you are, perfect. If it's not, why would you do that? Who are you trying to... You think people are going to be impressed by that? They probably just think you're weird. And like I said before, what happens with gentrification often is you just enter in with a very broad brush and you assume a certain set of values that you haven't done the hard work of discovering yourself. And I think part of the problem here is also that you don't know yourself very well. If we seek first to understand, now we seek to be understood, you'd have to know yourself in order to seek to be understood. But if you're applying only veneers, then what is it that you're trying to communicate? Is it anything authentic of yourself? Then you can't really be understood by people. You're not really speaking an authentic language to them. It's not yourself. It's not an authentic expression. It's an imported, rubber-stamped version of something that you thought as a formula for success in this industry, and it just doesn't go over the way you thought it would. I've seen that time and time again. Here are some values that I think you can focus on to create an authentic expression of professionalism where you are as you become a student of where you are and the people who you're working with and working for in your business. Number one is an outward and others-focused mindset. That is something a professional, I think, has to have. You have a profession that is all about a craft, something that you're doing ultimately that benefits another person while simultaneously benefits you, of course. But it is primarily something with coffee that you're hoping to convey to another person. And so you do have to have an others and outward-focused mindset. To follow that up, a professional also has to be detailed and show care, not just for others, but also for one's self and the craft. So part of this is knowing that you are doing this purposefully, mindfully, as a way to convey something of yourself through it for the benefit of others. So there's kind of an interesting combination there where you know that this is serving them well, but at the same time, like I said, it's also serving you. But in coffee, there's an added element to that. We are also conveying the work of others that have gone before us, and that responsibility is a sacred responsibility, and it brings a lot of deep meaning to what we're doing. That meaning is part of what it means to be a professional. So we take great care of ourselves and of others, and we steward the things that we have in order to convey them well to those who have a need for those things. That's what being a professional is as well. Now, notice I haven't said anything about wearing shoes yet. You probably won't hear me say something about that. Here's another element of being a professional. As you do this, there is an element of kindness, of empathy and kindness to what you do. This has been increasing as a theme as we've become sick to our stomachs in the professional world of the kind of automaton nature of what we come to accept as professionalism. We long for more authentic connection, and part of that is why you hear so much about empathy, not just in coffee, but in other sectors of work life. Okay? Kindness and empathy are values that are worth more than just about any other thing that you can find out there. If you can find a community where it expresses those types of things, you've got something really good on your hands. But it starts with you. You decide as a professional whether or not you're going to enter into your workday with those things as your missions, right? And if we do that collectively, we have a collective kindness and empathy. Another part of being a professional and where we should be going, where are we going? Where should we be going as professionals? Is that we have a long-term focus, that there is a certain resiliency in us because we've determined that as far as we're concerned, we will do this work and we will have constance in this work. We're not going to treat it as a cheap thing. There's a certain seriousness that we have as professionals that allows us to take burdens and transform them into opportunities. That's called resiliency. Now, I said this in one of my talks at Coffee Fest. I said it was like the Black Panther suit that absorbed blows that came its way, harnessed the energy, and then used that energy back outward. Professionals know how to be resilient, and part of that is just a decision that you make to stick with it, to have a long-term focus for yourself, and also to help provide that for others as well. As you inevitably, as you pursue a career, you're going to become some kind of a leader at some point. As you practice constance, reliability, kindness, and empathy, and an others-focused outward mindset, inevitably you're going to become somebody who's counted upon, and you'll be bearing more burdens for sure. But as a result of your integrity, you're going to have more capacity, not just for the benefit of yourself and your career, but capacity to help other people build their careers as well. That is the type of thing that we pursue as professionals. And that's part of what it means to be a professional. Not logoed hats, not pre-prescribed greetings at the POS. And the last thing I'll say about this, and I guess I could kind of go on for a long time, because there's something transcendent about what I think true professionalism is. And that is kind of a two-parter. One, it's basically summed up as joy. The ability to harvest joy from what you do and to bring that to other people. So there is a seriousness with which we take our craft, but there's also fun and joy involved in it. When you think of a professional, just be honest. What color comes to mind? It sounds like a weird question, but when I think of a professional, the colors that come to mind are like gray, dull tones, things that aren't necessarily bright and colorful. And I think that's part of the problem. When we see colorful expressions of different cultures and communities and ways of doing things, we immediately think that it's not professional. If we're honest, we have our doubts. The robotic, the sanitized, and the dull have kind of co-opted the idea of professionalism. And where are we going? We need to go in the direction of a more colorful way of interpreting what professionalism is about. So not only is it about joy, but it's also about variety. Variety of people, cultures, expressions. If you find a coffee bar in any corner of the world that has the things we just talked about, the kindness, the empathy, the others-focused mindset, pursuing care for yourself and others in the craft, which does mean that we're going to be constantly trying to improve what we do. But we also have an authentic expression of place and person. That is the kind of professionalism that I want to see in the future. And if that means that we don't have logoed hats anymore, or that we all compete with bare feet, I really don't care. And I don't think a customer at the receiving end of the kind of energized, authentic hospitality that kind of professionalism produces will care either. I think we need to create a better future for what it means to be a professional. And I'm so excited and hopeful when I see just a little microcosm of what that looks like when I'm at Coffee Fest Latte Art Competition, when I'm at different coffee bars, when I can see glimmers of this happening in the industry. That's where I hope we go. And I think that's where we are going. And I say we're all the better for it. And let's all go together. So I hope that this episode was helpful for you. I don't know if this was more of a rant or a manifesto, but I just feel really passionate about this. So if you were sitting across the table from me talking about this at a trade show or an event, we would probably talk for a long time. So maybe if you're going to Coffee Fest later this year sometime, you'll catch me and we'll talk about this and it'll be a great conversation. But I hope that what we talked about today got you thinking about professionalism and how you've interpreted it, and maybe some things that you need to reassess about your interpretations for your own career, for your staff, for your coffee bar. Who knows? We're all works in progress, and we really can just hope for better iterations of our industry in the future. So if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about this episode or any episode on Keys to the Shop, feel free to send me an email. That is chris@keystotheshop.com. You can also use that email for Keys to the Shop consulting. Again, that's chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, speaking of Coffee Fest, Anaheim is next. Anaheim, California in August, and then Portland in November. Coffee Fest has been going on for over 25 years and has been the number one event to go to if you want to learn how to thrive as a coffee retailer. There is an incredible range of free and super affordable workshops, lectures, trainings. There's a cold brew competition, the latte art competition coming up in Anaheim. Definitely apply for that if you can hear this before the 24th of July. There's the trade show floor, and of course, there's the conversations that you get into with other like-minded professionals there to learn, and community always brings so many valuable lessons and insights, and you can find it all at Coffee Fest. Go to coffeefest.com to learn more about upcoming shows, and stay tuned for Coffee Fest 365, the new online learning platform from Coffee Fest coming soon. I'll be in Anaheim, I'll be in Portland. I hope to see you there. Again, to learn more and register, go to coffeefest.com. And with that, that is the end of our show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.